It's time for an inside look at the most powerful motorsport on the planet. WFO Radio, NHRA Nitro.
We are getting closer and closer to the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals, the 65th edition. We have already had some great interviews this week, including Fast Jack Beckman. Of course, Alan Reinhart started us off right. We heard from Freiberger, but now we are going to dive in with a two-time Mellow Yellow Pro Stock World Champion. You know who I'm talking about. We're talking about Erica Enders. Erica, just a couple of seconds away. Later in the week, Stevie Fast, Robert Height, Kevin McKenna, Ed Fetterkyle, Hank Stewart. We got all kinds of interviews right up until the start of Nitro Cars on Friday. And how are we doing this? Because of our great sponsors, the people that make WFO Radio possible, this podcast that has lasted 10 years. How has that happened? I don't know, everybody. Joe Castello is as surprised as you are, thanks to Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com. Marvin Rodak. You got to give this guy a call, 817-924-6821. Roasted fresh per your order. It's gourmet coffee, drag racing themed blends. Plus, he makes hot sauces and spice rubs, all proprietary stuff. Rodak'sCoffeeandGrills.com. Samtech.edu. Have I told you about the new Factory Stock podcast? I know I have. In case you're not already overloaded by all the WFO, you got to catch up with Factory Stock, right? They'll be there. Start your education at full speed with the School of Automotive Machinists and Technology, samtech.edu, Motorsport EFI tuning, CNC machining, block and head programs. They've got it all at Samtech. The Dragster Adventure at frankhawley.com. It makes a great gift. I don't want to get too ahead of the game with the holiday stuff, right? Like it's Black Friday. But let's face it, you're looking for a great gift, a home run gift, the Dragster Adventure in 2020. Get the gift certificate, present it to your friend. The Dragster Adventure goes all around the country, 866-480-7223. They're definitely coming to a track near you. Drive a dragster. Do it. It'll be awesome. Total Seal, the leader in ring seal technology. They can make piston rings for anything. Custom applications, whatever you need, from Nitro cars to NASCARs to Indy cars to your car, Total Seal has the rings. MagicDryUS.com, the official organic absorbent of the National Hot Rod Association, Hangstifer's Metalworking Lubricants. One thing that the machine shops in drag racing do agree upon. And thank you to all of you sponsors who have made WFO Radio possible. And for you new listeners and first-time listeners, we ask you to subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify. We have a WFO Radio mobile app. Of course, you can hit the website, but never miss a show. We're going to take you right through the NHRA countdown, but right now, let's get into it. Joining us now here on WFO Radio Podcast as we get ready for the 65th annual Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals. We're going to dive into Pro Stock, and a category that has been so competitive over the years with winners like Bob Glidden, Lee Shepard, Warren Johnson, and Erica Enders. In 2015, she joins us now. Erica, welcome back to WFO Radio Podcast, our pre-U.S. Nationals edition. How are you?
I'm good, Joe. How are you?
I am very well. So take me back to that 2015 edition of the Big Go, coming out victorious. Was it all that you had dreamed of all of those years thinking about winning Indy?
Yes. It was pretty amazing. The weekend started off kind of interesting, and I just didn't have a good feeling about it, and we ended up doing really well on Sunday. So I was proud of my guys. It was just a really unique weekend for me.
Well, that is interesting. And, you know, some people say, like, oh, man, I had a feeling I was going to win, and I just knew, and the cosmic forces told me, and you're telling me that you had a bad feeling and you didn't think you were going to win, and you won anyway.
Yeah, and that's really rare for me because I'm, like, total positive mental attitude type person, and you got to believe it to be it and all of those things. And, of course, I learned all that from my dad, but Sunday morning, I just was like not having a good day. And my dad and Jed Coughlin, after he went out on that Sunday, they were the two that got me through it mentally. And it ended up being awesome. I think we won every round there, including the final on a hole shot, which was pretty cool. And we got to race my teammate at the time, Drew Skillman, with 2 red Chevy Camaros in the finals. And that weekend I was the grand marshal of the race. So it was really a cool weekend. I don't want to make it sound like it was negative, but you know how you just like have those days, and I'm sure any type of stick and ball athlete will tell you the same thing. Like some days you have a good feeling and some days you don't. And that was one that I didn't, and we ended up pushing through and winning anyway. So it was cool.
Yeah, you took down V. Gaines, Larry Morgan, Vincent Nobile, and Drew Skillman in the final round. You had an 0-13 in the final and won the race. You had an 0-13 in the semifinal as well. And looking at the ETs, by the way, kind of similar to what we're running right now. You ran 6:61, won the final round on a hole shot. And then you had one Indy, which means that, you get the keys to the VIP drag racer lounge, right? Like when you win Indy, it's just a different thing. Like the Indy winners are a rare breed, and everybody goes for it. You can be a champ, you can be an Indy winner, and you are both.
Well, thanks. Yes, and I agree. I mean, I had come close so many times before, and those are kind of those pivotal moments in your career that if you wish one thing would have gone just a little bit different, it would always go back to those rounds. Like 1994 at the inaugural Junior Drag Racing League Nationals at Indy, I red lit in the finals against Chris Bear. I still remember I was 486 red, and he was like 610 on the tree. I remember those numbers. I got down to 3 cars in Super Comp my first year racing the 890 index class when there was like 174 entries. So that was cool. And then you go to 2012 with me and Conley in the finals and him winning. And that was kind of all of the things that I didn't really understand why they went the way that they did. And when we finally were able to do it with the right group of people in 2015, it made 2012 disappear. So it's really cool. And Indy, I guess everybody in our industry knows how prestigious it is, but one of my, role models, Shirley Muldowney, even her email address starts with I won Indy, blah, 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 whatever it is, .com. So it's very important to every drag racer out there. And I'm excited to head back.
I agree. And it's so hard to explain to people until you've been there and you've seen it like, fill up and the racers go through the process. Like this means everything to the people in the world that choose to go fast in a straight line and accelerate as quick and fast as they possibly can, whether it be local racers chasing summit points at their local track or otherwise. They understand, like, this is the week. This is the weekend that all drag racers focus. And whether you're thinking about Don Garlitz or Don Prudhomme or Shirley Muldowney or Warren Johnson or Erica Enders, this is where they all lay it out there. But I like to think about the fact that you remember all those numbers, right? Like, if nothing could illustrate drag racers better than that. Like, the big races that you came up short to the T.
Absolutely. I can't remember what city I was in yesterday, but I can remember the final round in 94, all of those significant races. And it's not just on the losing side. I can remember, the winning side numbers too. And I think most drag racers are that way, actually. It's kind of interesting how we remember those numbers down to the thousandth of a second. And, you don't know where you went to lunch. So it's kind of cool, and it shows how important it is to us.
Well, it probably comes from the fact that you're at the most, highest level of mental, focus when these things are happening. So it only makes sense that you would remember everything about it, right? Like you go to the starting line, regardless of what's been happening, if you're going to perform and be successful, and on these days that we're talking about, you probably have been, you remember it because you are focused on everything. You're in the zone, as they say.
You really are. And it's so crazy how that you can have all of these thoughts. And I was actually just talking to a friend the other day about the 2014 World Championship, where every round of racing, Jason Line won right in front of me. So I fired my car going up to the starting line, like knowing that I had to win that round to be able to stay in contention for the championship. And the feelings of like nervousness or anticipation or whatever they may be, like it just all goes away as soon as you hit the starter button. It's ultimate focus, and I love it. I would replace it with nothing else.
Speaking of Jason Line, out there in Brainerd, you and he really kind of set yourselves apart from the field. It wasn't a huge performance advantage, but you guys had the best two cars throughout qualifying and throughout eliminations, and you met in the final round. You're 0-14, he's 0-16. You come up a little bit short, and that had to be a little annoying, but at the same time, he had a great day. You went over and gave him a hug.
Did.
He said that you gave him a hug because you know that he hates hugs. Is that true?
He hates hugs, so I like to make sure I hug him. He told me that when I raced in my first final in Pro Stock in 2005 in Chicago. I ended up going red against him, and we had an issue with a crank trigger sensor back in the pit and couldn't get our car to fire. So I got suited up in the pit area, and we towed to the starting line, and he waited on me. And NHRA was rushing him because weather was coming in, and he's like, no, this is her first final. We're going to wait on her. And he did. I red lit, he won, whatever, but I hugged him at the top end, and that was the day that he told me, I don't really like hugs. So now every time, and we've become closer, over the years or whatever, and I really respect him and admire him. And so every time I see him, I like to try to pester him with a hug. But he did great that day. I wish that we would have won, obviously, but it couldn't have happened at a better time for him to be able to win in front of a hometown crowd. And he promises to return the favor if we race in the finals at Houston. That's what he told me. But all jokes aside, I mean, if we couldn't have won it, I couldn't have lost to a better guy. So
many moments that I think of. One of your Houston wins down there, I guess Chris McGahey was in the other lane, and you won the race, and like the roar of the crowd, something we don't get in drag racing very often, just because there are fans of so many different drivers. It's not like going to a ball game where there's the home team and the visiting team and a lot of fans all in one spot. But getting to experience that win for you out there in Houston, getting to see Clay win in Tennessee, getting to see Jason win up there, like the crowd invested and into it, I think that was just his day. But this weekend could be your day, and that's why I really wanted to focus in on this interview with you, because it seems like things are clicking now. I spoke with Rick Jones out in Seattle, and you guys were hunting for something. He says, well, there's something tripping us up. We haven't figured it out yet, and between Seattle and what happened out in Brainerd, looks like you guys found it. The car was doing what you wanted it to do. Your driving has been spot on throughout this whole period. Just a matter of getting everything to align. Do you feel confident going into the 65th U.S. Nationals?
I'll tell you, Joe, I feel more confident than I have in a really long time, probably since back before we went to Dodge in 2016. I mean, it's kind of been an uphill battle ever since we went back to our Chevy stuff. And yeah, we've won a handful of races. I have. Jegs won, Vincent's won, all of the people, Alex has won, all of the people that are under our elite banner. But it hasn't been like it was. Like we were kind of, we had two amazing years in 14 and 15. So we've just kind of been working our way back to that point. And, touching on what Rick told you, I have to give my guys here at the engine shop like major kudos, because it has been a really frustrating period and a lot of extra hours. Like they come in on their Saturdays and Sundays off and they bust their butts to get these motors back together. And we feel like we've isolated our issue and seem to have proved it in Brainerd. So, we're kind of making all of the changes that we need to make on all of our cars, and going into Indy on the heels of the success that the red car had in Brainerd, I'm pretty excited. I think that we're going to have a good car. I've been, communicating with both Rick and Mark Ingersoll throughout this off week, and their confidence seems to be back. They've got their swagger back, and I've told you this 100 times, but I feed off of that as a driver. So when I know that they're confident, it gives me sort of a peace of mind, and then I'm able to focus and maybe even essentially drive better. And that is our goal going to Indy. Joking this week, we're not going to visit, we're going there to collect a trophy. And that is my main goal. I was entered in stock. Drew Skillman was going to let me drive one of his Cobra Jets this weekend, and it didn't work out to where I was going to be able to do it, but I was like really excited to be able to drive two cars at Indy. But now we're just like strictly focusing on Pro Stock, and I am ready to hurt some feelings.
I love that. And you referenced that a couple of times last week. You mentioned at last race, you mentioned, we're driving on mean, right? Like really up on the wheel. And your reaction times don't vary very much, but you're getting all of it out there. Talk a little bit about that, we think about stick and ball sports like a fight, right? You want to get hyped up, get into the ring and show your dominance and roll over the offensive line of the other team and get a sack. Like every other sport, there's this intensity and it can be physically demonstrated. In this sport, you can have an intensity, but you really can't physically demonstrate it in the same way. You got to let go of the clutch the same way so that all your numbers and all your calculations that you've put a lot of years into figuring out come out the same. So how does that work when you're feeling super intense on the inside, but you got to do everything the same?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point to make. I mean, there's so much intensity, but it has to be channeled correctly. Like, where football players come out of the tunnel and they're pounding on each other and punching each other and all that. Like, it's one thing to get worked up, but I'm excited and I'm amped up and I'm mad. I want to do the very best that I can do, but at the same time, you have to remain calm, cool, and collected. So it's kind of like managing your heart rate and your breathing at the same time while your adrenaline is going crazy and while you're very intense and pumped up. So it has to be, channeled properly. And with years of seat time, I finally figured out how to collect that excited energy and put it elsewhere. So it's about being calm and keeping my heart rate the same and doing the same thing every single time. Like that's something that I really pride myself on, and I'm not gonna vary a whole lot. That's my goal. Obviously, I'm the biggest variable in the whole equation with human error. So if I can just do my job like I know how to do, we're going to do great. And so it's very intense, but I have to make sure that I'm displaying it properly, if that makes sense.
It does. No, it does. And that's why I really like to delve into the mind of the racer, especially in pro stock, because as much as you're controlling the car, you have to hit those shifts and you can destroy the run. Like you can lose the run by making a mistake or getting out of that zone, and it means so much. Whenever we speak, you mentioned the time that you've been in pro stock, and I feel like, wow, you're a cagey veteran now. Do you feel that way? Like you have spent many years, you've won many championships, you've won the U.S. Nationals, you're a face of the category, and without Erica, pro stock is just not the same. Pro stock is pro stock, they're running cars, but it's not the same without Erica. Do you feel that way, or do you still feel like oh my gosh, I've got to prove myself that you were prior to the championships?
I feel a little bit of both. I don't know if that makes sense, but like in my mind sometimes, I mean, I'm 35 now and I've been racing pro stock for 15 years, but there are times when I still feel like I need to call and ask my dad permission to do something. Like I don't feel like that I should be adulting on my own yet, but at the same time, and then, I get to race people like my teammate, Jed Coughlin, who I respect and admire a lot. And he's actually taught me a lot and brought out the best in me a lot of times. And so being able not just to work alongside of him and learn from him, but to compete against him and Greg Anderson and Jason Line, these are people that I used to buy their t-shirts as a kid. So it's kind of weird that I'm blessed enough to run in the lane next to him and have a chance to beat him at something that they are so great at. So yes and no, I guess, but I do feel like it took a long time for me to get really good at what I do, but it's because of the people that I'm surrounded with and the attitudes that we have, and the credit goes to everyone else, not to me, because I've been blessed enough to work with a lot of really great people that have taught me a lot over the years. And I've also been, I've been able to work with people that were not good people and that really would kick you when you're down. And those were also really important lessons that got me to this point, that made me a better driver, that made me more mentally tough. And so as hard as it was going through that stuff, I'm thankful for it because I'm better because of it. So I'm just blessed to have the opportunity to get to do what I love for a living with a group of guys that, are very passionate and work very hard. Their work ethic is unbelievable. So, and I'm still learning a lot. And that's, you and I have talked about this a lot. What I love so much about pro stock is that a lot of the weight is on the driver's shoulders, but it's not just about me or the driver or one person. I have 19 guys on my team that work their tails off so that we can just show up at the racetrack. So it's challenging, and that's the aspect of pro stock that I love. Like, I learn something every single time I let the clutch out in that car, and that's why I test for all of the drivers on our team when they can't because they have to work. I like the seat time. I like to learn, and I like that the weight is on the driver's shoulders. That's my favorite part.
That is incredible. And you mentioned some conversations we've had, the class in general. Recently, we were doing a Facebook Live on NHRA's Facebook page, and it kind of went a little sideways in that there was a comment about pro stock, but it was, you turn it into an opportunity to talk about your passion for this class. And you referenced a lot of work that has gone in and, discussions amongst the teams that are, great rivals, bitter rivals at times, but realizing like, hey, if we want to continue to do this, we've got to make things better. And things are definitely better. We've had many races with 20 cars trying for the 16 spots. We got 21 cars entered at the Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals. I'm feeling like there are more racers out there that would want to try their hands at this. But what impressed me was how you got very intense. Like when thinking about the class in general, like this pro stock life, you fought for it. Talk a little bit about that and where you think the class is right now, because I'm sensing positive upward motion in pro stock.
I think it's absolutely all positive, and I have to give a lot of credit to my team owner, Richard Freeman, because he kind of spearheaded this whole deal, and where none of us would really work together behind the scenes very well. Everybody has pulled their weight, especially the KB guys. And it's taken a group effort and to get it to where it is now. We went through a lot of changes as a class that were not just a little mind-boggling, but also very, very expensive. And I think at first, when we switched from carburetors to EFI, it was roughly about $120,000 switchover cost per car, not including the R&D that went into intake manifold stuff and whatnot. So not to get off on another tangent, but it's kind of like politics. Like, it takes a couple of years to see a change, to see a difference. And you're going to start to see more and more entries out there, in my opinion. I know that we personally have 2 more full-time guys that are planning to come racing in 2020 with us. So, that's an additional 2 cars. I know that KB is working on some stuff as well, and I'm sure some of the other teams. But I get so kind of not really bent out of shape, but I feel like it's an opportunity to educate people, like Facebook and all the social media crap. Like, it gives people a platform to spew hate and ignorant comments with 0 consequence, and not maybe they're just being mean, but maybe it's because they don't know. And that was kind of what I was glad that you brought up when you interviewed me in Brainerd. We're able to tell people kind of what's going on behind the scenes. And it's not like it's top secret stuff. Like, we're working really hard at this, and all of us have sacrificed not just a lot of money, but a lot of time and personal relationships and time away from families and my guys and their kids. And so there's a lot that goes into making pro stock a success. And I'm really proud of the work that's been done. And I've learned over the years, you're not going to make everybody happy. You're not going to please everyone. They're not going to agree with the decisions that you make, but we do it for our class and for our business. It's not just we go out to win races on the weekends. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes here at work. Like, we come home from a race on Sunday night, we're back in the shop on Monday morning, and we work all the way until we are wheels up on Thursday, go racing again. Like, there's not an off day. So it's a challenge, but it's like competitive problem solving at its best. And to be able to have these people that, myself included, we want to go out there and rip each other's throats out on Sunday, but we're able to have supper together or, work together on the phone and, get NHRA on our side on a lot of things. And, Ned and Josh and Glenn Cromwell and all of the guys have really, visited us in our pit area. It's like the most involvement that they've had with pro stock since I've been around. I know it's only 15 years, but it's a big change, and I think it's a positive change, and I think people should embrace it and support it and not spew crap on the internet about it if they don't know. So if they don't, they can get my phone number on the Elite website and they can call me, and I'll educate them on it. But I think that my competitors and my team owner and all my guys here, we all feel the same way. Like, we put a lot of work into this, and it's going in the right direction, and we are really happy about it.
Well, that is great. And are you sure you want to direct people to the Elite website like that?
Yeah, and while you're at it, you can maybe buy something off of me, too. We got a bunch of trucks and trailers and motors and race operations to sell, so come on.
Whoa. Okay, you're in the sales game. Do you wet my beak a little bit if WFO listeners go and buy something from Erica?
They can. But, yeah, it turns out you can't make a whole lot of money drag racing, so now I'm in sales. So, no, Richard's been cool enough to let me have a chance to sell a lot of the inventory that we have here, and we've got some really huge additions going on that I think we're going to try to announce at Indy that we'll be really excited about. And I don't know. It's cool. It's a great opportunity, and it's all within the same industry that we're passionate about. So
exactly.
It's cool.
Exactly. Okay, so you're 177 points behind Bo. But after the U.S. Nationals, that's all going away anyway. But you do want to gain as many points as is possible. The way I see it, you could leapfrog Derek Kramer. You might leapfrog Matt Hartford. Jason would be tough. But each one of those spots make a difference in the overall championship run, given that you're peaking at the right time. You said you feel confident, and now is the time where you need to be confident because it's championship time.
Exactly. Indy's worth 1.5 and money and a half. So we're going into this race, as I mentioned, really confident. I think that I have a really great race car underneath me. Rick Jones and Mark Ingersoll, who are my crew chiefs that work with Ricky Jones and Lump. I think we're all on the same page with everything. And I keep saying in all these interviews, like, man, we've been so close so many times, right? If the pendulum can just swing in our direction and we can capitalize on it when it does, like, we just have to go out and execute the best that we can and not make stupid mistakes. And that sounds way easier than it is, believe me. But I think that, it's coming around right at the right time. I need to go to Indy and have a really great weekend and try to climb in the point standings as much as we can, because when it resets, going to Reading, like, I want to be as close to the top as I can. Like you said, I'm not going to be able to reach Bo and Jason. Jason and Greg are a pretty long shot, but I can position myself, with my other teammates as close to the front as we can, and then it's game on come Reading. So we've just got to do the best that we can, and it is absolutely not out of reach. My money is on us. I
love to hear it, and I love the term competitive problem solving, because that's really what it all is. That could be on a T-shirt somewhere, because it's true. That's what drag racing is. It's just creating problems to solve at a high rate of speed against competition. Erica, thank you so much for coming on WFO Radio Podcast, giving us your Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals preview. I'm very excited to see you in the mix and competitive, going out there, making the final round in Brainerd. I believe just a prelude to what is to come, both at the U.S. Nationals and in the NHRA Countdown. Thank you for coming on the show, and good luck at the Big Go.
Thanks, Joe. I appreciate you having me, and I hope I talk to you on Tuesday.
Thank you, Erica. Erica Enders with us here on WFO Radio Podcast. I love the confidence, right? She wants to come on the show. If you're a new listener, you might not know that the winners win their way on. I don't choose the guests on a week after the U.S. Nationals. It's really not up to me. It's up to them. It's part of winning. They get the Wally. They get the check. They get the glory. And they get the obligation of calling me, of coming on WFO Radio Podcast. And it's part of winning. And it's amazing how it has all worked out over the 10 years we have been doing it. 2 of those years were Erica championship years. I love what she has to say, and I want to always dig deeper with my guests and make sure that everybody knows that there's a journey that these people are on. And there are highs and there are lows. There are good times and there are bad times. And Erica has not won this season, but she's going to win this season. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. And these next 7 races are the most important races. She is a genuine championship contender. She can get the job done with her left foot. And you know they're making power at Elite. So I am looking very much forward to Pro Stock and what we are going to see at the 65th Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals. Now, we have many more great guests yet to come, including Robert Height, Kevin McKenna from NHRA National Dragster, Ed Fetterkyle and Hank Stewart, a couple of sportsman racers out there chasing the Wally, John DeBartolomeo, Stevie Fast Jackson. Oh, yes. But next up, it's going to be Kevin McKenna. And speaking of Pro Stock, we get into a deep conversation about Pro Stock and the days of there was like 50 cars showing up to qualify. And were those days better?
I am going to clear up a myth about the 50-car Pro Stock fields because I've been around long enough. I went through that era. The qualifying sessions on Saturday and Sunday were tedious, boring, and by and large ineffective because back then we almost always had Friday qualifying. That set the field usually, and you might have two runs on Saturday where all 50 cars ran and not one of them ran quicker than the bump spot if the weather changed and it got hot. And just to watch cars go down there back then, whatever it was, 750s, 740s, 730s, just to watch them, that was not an entertaining show for the fans. And I challenge anyone to tell me that style of racing where you had maybe four guys that could honestly win the race is better than what you have today, where, yes, you have smaller fields, but you honestly and truly have a 10 to 12 car dogfight for the win.
He is the senior editor of NHRA National Dragster and will be our next guest on WFO Radio NHRA Nitro Podcast. Be sure to subscribe. Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you get your podcast, you can find it. You're not going to want to miss Kevin McKenna. He does a great job, and you can follow him at ThatGuyKmac on Twitter. Robert Height, we got more guests. It's all coming up in our Chevrolet Performance U.S. Nationals coverage. Big thanks to the sponsors. They make it all possible. Rodax, Magic Dry, Samtech.edu, Frank Hawley's, Total Seal, Hankifer's Metalworking Lubricants, Hussey Performance, EV3 Drag Racing. It's a mobile device game that you should be playing. If you love drag racing, it's very realistic. And Drag Racing Edge Magazine, all stepping up to promote WFO Radio. If you're a first-time podcast listener to this podcast at very least, if you like it, if you like what's going on, please write us a review. We're going to keep on going. I know everybody is headed to Indy. It's going to be great. We got 5 Mellow Yellow qualifying sessions. And if you're going out to the track me down. I'll be doing the Mellow Yellow walking tours. We've got an event with Greg Anderson and Warren Johnson. A lot of cool stuff is going to be happening. And if you're planning on going 1 day, go 2 days. If you're planning on going 2 days, go 4 days because it's the big go. And why would you miss it? If you can't be there, NHRA.tv is going to have it all on there. I'll be watching. I'll be on it. Hope to see you soon. We've got our next interview coming up, WFO.
WFO! The views and opinions of the hosts, guests, or callers do not necessarily reflect that of the station ownership, advertisers, or agencies.
I love WFO Radio.
Oh, yeah.
Your education. What are you going to do with your life? That is what it's all about. And samtech.edu can help you figure it all out. The School of Automotive Machinists and Technology always says start your education at full speed because they will get you in, get you started, get you learning rapidly. The school is located in the Houston, Texas area. They've got a great campus. They're always expanding. But most importantly, their relationships within the performance industry is what sets them apart. We're talking about block programs, head programs, CNC programs, motorsport EFI tuning, all part of Samtech. They can even help persons that are eligible under the GI Bill. Go to the website, samtech.edu, or call 713-683-3817. Would you rather do something you love as your job? I know I would. samtech.edu. Hey, engine builders, Total Seal piston rings are the leader in ring seal technology, and they go out of their way to help their customers and will make custom sets for any specific piston you might have. Customer service, top notch. Made in America? Absolutely. They're located in Phoenix, Arizona, and they've got everything it takes to develop the world's best piston rings. Give them a call at 800-874-2753 or go to TotalSeal.com.
Subscribe to WFO Radio on iTunes. Never miss a show. And don't forget to write a review. WFO.
This is WFO Radio.